Hi, I'm Konstantin Baum, Master of Wine, and it's time for you to decide what I drink. I asked you, my subscribers, on the community tab, which wines you would want me to taste, and you gave me lots of options. Over 270 to be more specific, and I will taste, rate, and maybe roast some of them today. I don't know most of the wines, and to be honest, I'm pretty excited to follow your recommendations for a change and hopefully find some new and exciting wines. Let's pop some corks. First and foremost, thanks for all of your suggestions. Even though I would have loved to include all 270, I just can't. One of the greatest things about this channel is your engagement and your input, and I'm very grateful for it. That said, if you're not subscribed, please do, in order to make sure that you're not missing out on any of the upcoming videos or community posts. Leon picked 7 wines out of the hundreds of suggestions. He chose wines that were upvoted, are widely available, and come from different places. I noticed that you guys have expensive taste, but we try to make sure that you have a mix of premium wines and more affordable options. Without much further ado, let's dig in. So the first one is a champagne, and it was recommended by MKA. It's called Un Jour de 1911, which means one day in 1911. And the producer is André Clouet, and it's a champagne from Grand Cru sites. It sounds pretty good. It looks awesome. I mean, this looks a little bit like it is Domaine de la Romani Conti, but it isn't. It's pretty nice packaging, but what's really important is what is inside the bottle. MKA wrote that this made me fall in love with champagne. Interesting Soleil style tête de cuvée champagne from Bouzy, fairly affordable and has the most beautiful presentation and packaging for a wine I've seen. I mean, this retails for around $70 US, so it's not cheap, but it is champagne. It's Grand Cru champagne, so it's actually still affordable. So let's have a look what's behind all of this straw and stuff. There's paper, which is a little bit wet because the wine comes straight out of the fridge. And, well, here it is. So apparently this wine is always a mix of different wines made in a Solera system, which we know from sherry or from my previous video. But this is not really common in champagne, so it sounds intriguing. The foil is a little bit strange. It's kind of difficult to remove, but I'm all right. And there we go. Ooh. The wine has a very fine mousseux. The CO2 is really small and really creamy. On the nose, you certainly have quite a lot of intense flavors. It smells a little bit like soy sauce, yeast. You also have some citric notes coming through, but it's really rich and concentrated and mainly yeast dominated. On the palate, it's very concentrated, dense, thick almost. So it's a pretty big champagne, I would say. The wine actually comes with a little booklet, and there's quite a bit of information in here, but not necessarily the information that I'm looking for. I wanted to know which vintages this wine is based on, but it doesn't really say it in this book. But it says that there are only 1,911 bottles of this wine being produced. So this is one of very few wines, which makes it a little bit extra special. To me, this is a really interesting champagne, very complex, very rich, very concentrated. Maybe it lacks a little bit of length, finesse, and freshness. But this is not to say that this isn't great. I think I would rate it 91 points. I think this is very, very good champagne. It just lacks a little bit of oomph and freshness and vibrancy to be better than that. The next recommendation is from Connell Keller, and he writes, it might be a popular one, but the standard Trimbach Riesling or Pinot Blanc might be an all-time classic. I agree. This is an all-time classic. This is the Riesling. I haven't tasted it in a while, but I know this wine. I know the winery. Trimbach is probably one of the few producers in the old world in Europe who are actually able to perform on very different quality levels. So they're producing really good entry-level wines, but they're also producing some of the best wines from the region. A little bit the same concept that Penfolds is doing in Australia, for example. So I'm looking forward to trying this again. So this is the current release, the 2020 vintage, and it retails for around $20 US. The Trimbach family actually writes about this wine, a dry, fruity and pure Riesling, the archetype of classic Alsace Riesling. Yeah, but I mean, they are representing Alsace all around the world, and they are probably one, if not the most well-known brand from the region. So this smells very classic of lemon zest. You also have ripe apple flavors, and there are petrol notes coming through, which is typical even in young Alsatian Rieslings. What disturbs me a little bit about this wine is the bitterness on the finish. I don't really know whether that is part of the stylistic expression of this wine. I think it's a little bit too much. I guess if you drink it while eating some food, some richer dishes in particular, you won't necessarily notice it. But I think it just doesn't feel quite right. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that 2020 was really hot, a hot vintage, producing maybe slightly phenolic, weird wines. But yeah, that's the only thing that I find that I don't like. Apart from that, this is really classic. It's a really well-made wine. It's not up there, but I think it's well crafted, and I rate it 85 points. The next wine is the 2020 Chona's Marani, wait for it, Mtsvane Rkatsiteli from Georgia. It's a traditional amber wine made in a qvevri, so the traditional way of winemaking from Georgia. And I'm looking forward to tasting this. This is about $20 US. It was suggested by Sean McShane, who writes, maybe not all-time favorite, but Chona's Marani Shinuri Rkatsiteli. Okay, I think Leon messed up here. He's actually talking about the Shinuri Rkatsiteli, while I'm tasting the Mtsvane Rkatsiteli. Sorry, Sean. And Leon, what the... Well, anyways, Georgia is quite complicated. I know those grape varieties are difficult to pronounce and easy to confuse. Sean, I hope this will be fine, but I think lots of people will be excited for me to taste the Georgian wine. But yeah, Sean writes, this wine has been my favorite wine I've tried this year. A great example of amber wine from the criminally underrated winemaking country of Georgia. So let's taste this wine then. Okay, the easiest way to open a wax-sealed bottle, and there are lots of wax-sealed bottles in Georgia, that's for sure, is just by poking through the wax and then pulling the cork out, and that's it. You can clean up a little bit afterwards, but you don't need to do much more than that. You can see straight away why this wine is called amber wine or orange wine. The color is very special, and this is because those white grape varieties were fermented and left on the skins for 6 months in a qvevri, a clay amphora, and therefore they get different flavors and color pigments from the grape skins. They also oxidize a little bit and just turn into this beautiful amber wine. This is really well made. On my recent trip to Georgia, I've tasted some really beautiful amber wines, but also some that weren't so great. And this is because it's difficult to make great orange wine in an amphora. But this is certainly really well handled. It smells of apricots, spices and herbs. There's a little bit of thyme coming through. There is pear aroma coming through. It's quite intense, but also very clean. On the palate, you have substance and structure. There's even tannic grip, which is pretty normal for an orange wine or amber wine. They just have some tannins coming out of the grape skins that you wouldn't get if you press the skin straight away and turn the juice into a normal white wine. This just has a little bit more oomph on the palate. So this might not be the Shinuri Rkatsiteli that you suggested, Sean, but thanks a lot. This is really good. I like it a lot, and I'll rate it 91 points. A beautiful, beautiful amber wine. This leads me to my new partner on this channel, Masterworks. Wine is a fascinating product. It's all fermented grape juice, but some of it is sold for $1 a bottle, while some rare bottles are sold for more than $1,000. The art market works in a similar way, and Masterworks has attracted hundreds of thousands of investors by figuring out a way that you can invest your money into artwork by Picasso or Banksy for a fraction of the cost of one of their paintings. With inflation so high, art investing is coming to the forefront because people have used it as an inflation inflation-resistant store of wealth for generations. In fact, according to Masterworks, the last time inflation was this high, contemporary art appreciated at an average of 33% annually, beating stocks, real estate, and even traditional inflation and recession hedges like gold. The way their platform works is that Masterworks buys high-value art from artists like Picasso or Banksy and breaks it into shares so that you can invest into a portion of the actual physical paintings. For example, I'm investing into 3 paintings right now that are worth millions, just like that. When Masterworks sells a painting, you get your slice of the potential profits. So far, they've sold 6 paintings for an average annual return of 29% to investors. But legally, it's important for me to say that investments can go up and down, and this does not constitute financial advice. However, their collection of over 140 paintings has already increased in value by 15.3%, according to internal valuations, totaling over $550 million. If you click the link below in the description, you can skip the waitlist and start investing today, alongside with me and 500,000 others. So check that out. And now I'm going to check out more of your wine suggestions. The next wine is the 2019 Morgon Cote from Jean Foillard in Beaujolais, and it retailed for around $50 US. This was a suggestion by Daniel Maquin or Daniel Maquin, who writes, "Hi Konstantin" or Konstantin. I might be mistaken, but I haven't seen you tasting or talking about wines from the Beaujolais region. There's one in particular that I love above all others. It's Foillard's Morgon Cote in either 2014 or 2015 vintages. I'd be curious to see you break down this region and this winemaking style. Thank you for your exciting content. Thank you. And yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get the 14 or 15. This is the more recent vintage, but this kind of makes sense because like that, you will be able to buy this one if I like it and you think it sounds great. Let's open it. So, same thing here. Just pull the cork. That's it. So I like to scrape off this little bit of wax because otherwise I might get in some wax into the wine. And this is now fine. Let's pour it. I think I might have talked about Beaujolais before on this channel, but I don't really remember. I love Beaujolais. It's a great region. It offers tremendous value, especially if you compare it to the neighbors to the north. Here we have the Gamay grape variety, which is different to Pinot Noir, but which can produce really great wines. And let's see whether this is one of them. The region is fairly well known for the Beaujolais Nouveau, which is a very easygoing, simple red wine that is supposed to be consumed really early. But this is the exact opposite. This is a very restrained, complex wine. It shows quite a lot of fruit flavor. So you have those strawberry notes that are very typical in the region, cherry flavors, but you have also black tea, a little bit of mushroomy character, quite a lot of complexity. On the palate, it's very linear, focused, fresh. There's tannins there, but not too many. There's quite a lot of length. I think this feels quite young to me. It would have been nice to taste an older vintage of the same wine, and I might do it at some point. But this has quite a lot of potential. 2019 was a very good vintage, and this shows quite a lot of the stuff that you need to go an extra mile. Very good quality. This is not a loud wine. It's quite an elegant and refined wine. And I think you have to look deep into the glass to really find all of its beauty. But I think I found it, and I think I'm going to rate it 91 points. Great stuff. The next one is the 2016, the Ojai Vineyard Puerta del Mar Pinot Noir from Santa Barbara in California. It retails for around $45 and I'm so looking forward to tasting this. This is a suggestion by William Olausen, who writes, I really love the Ojai Vineyard Santa Barbara County Pinot Noir. I hope that's the same wine. I hope so. It has the cleanness of the new world together with the complexity of the old world, with bright red fruit aromas without being overly ripe. It's my go-to Pinot from the new world. Let's see whether it's going to be my go-to Pinot from now on. I know the Ojai Vineyard's wines, and Adam Tolmec is kind of a legend in the California wine scene, but I actually only know their Rhone varietals. So I know that they are also making Pinot, but I haven't tasted the Pinots yet. I know the Syrah in particular, which is a beautiful wine. So let's get in there. So first of all, for everyone who thinks New World wines are always very alcoholic, this is 13%, which is pretty low even in Burgundy these days. So as you can see, it's pretty light in color, so it's not really dark. I mean, Pinot is never really dark, but this is a fairly light colored Pinot. On the nose, it's also fresh and vibrant. There are notes of strawberry, a little bit of cherry. You have some spice notes coming through. There's a little bit of greenness, a little bit of stemminess, but not in a bad way. It just adds to the complexity, in my opinion. On the palate, it's actually quite fresh and vibrant. There is good acidity. There are nice tannins that are round and polished, but that still have some grip. And it's fairly long. Yeah, I think, William, you're right. This is a really beautiful Pinot Noir. It's quite complex. It has some depth to it, but it's not the deepest Pinot ever. But it's beautiful, complex, complete Californian Pinot. I rate this wine 91 points. Really good stuff. The next one is the 2017 Le Chiuse Brunello di Montalcino from Italy, obviously, and it retails for $85 US. This was suggested by Joachim Edverson Reimer, who writes, I just spent a week in Montalcino, lucky you, and one of my favorites is Le Chiuse Brunello di Montalcino 2015-2016. We have the 2017. Love the impressive nose, the minerals combined with the flower, cherry, lavender. Yeah, let's see. I mean, you know what I think about minerals in wine, but that's a totally different video. Let's taste this. Brunello is one of the hotspots, if not the most famous place for Sangiovese, a grape variety that is very common in Tuscany, and it can produce really, really beautiful wines in Brunello di Montalcino. Those wines tend to be a little bit more oxidative, a little bit more spicy, and fairly long-lived. And actually, they often get confused with great Barolo. So it's definitely one of the best wines from Italy, Brunello. I haven't tasted this wine before, but I read up a little bit on the winery, and they seem to be doing quite a lot of things right. This is quite elegant and complex, particularly because it's from the hot 2017 vintage. It smells of raspberries, strawberries. There's also notes of cherries coming through, a little bit of herbaceous character, and you also have some flowery notes that remind me a little bit of violets. On the palate, the wine is very fresh and long. There's quite a lot of tannins there, lots of structure, but also good acidity. So this is certainly a wine that will age for 10, 15, 20 years. Because of all of this substance. It isn't overpowering at all. It's complex, quite well balanced. So really beautiful wine. Joachim, you've done a good job researching in the region. That's what you should always do. Go there and taste as much as you can. This is a nice find. I'll rate this wine 94 points. It's quite complex, and I'm looking forward to tasting this wine again in 10, 15 years. So the last wine also had the biggest response in the comments section, and it's nicely packaged. It's the 2018 Purple Angel from Montes. The wine comes from Chile. It retails for around $80 US, and it was suggested by Andrew Webster, who wrote, I love Purple Angel by Montes, very concentrated and rich, and showcasing a grape a lot of people still haven't fallen in love with, which would be Carmenere. Carmenere taken to a new dimension. Chile is still one of those wine-making countries that I haven't traveled to, and I really want to go there. I loved Argentina, and I think Chile is also a beautiful country. Carmenere is kind of their most well-known, most associated grape variety with this country. It can produce great wines, but not always. I know Montes really well because I worked for a retailer when I was a student, and they were selling quite a lot of Montes wines. So the wines are very good. I mean, they used to be very good. I haven't tasted them in a while, but I think they are still pretty good wines. And this gotta be good at that price. So this is 92% Carmenere and 8% Petit Verdot, which is a grape variety that brings quite a lot of concentration and richness to any wine it is in. And yeah, let's taste it. This is really the essence of Chile for me, in my opinion. It smells super intense. The fruit flavors are very concentrated. There's quite a lot of blackberry, strawberry, dark cherry flavors, but there's also this mintiness, which is quite typical, in my opinion, for Chilean wines. There's also oak there, but it's all very well integrated. It's quite balanced. On the palate, you have lots of concentration, body, and richness. This has 14.5% of alcohol. So there's concentration there, but there's also acidity, freshness, vibrancy that lifts it all up. So overall, this wine can be described with one word: balance. But to be honest, if I compare it to regular Chilean wines or less expensive wines from Montes, this is not that much better. I think it comes with quite a price tag. The quality isn't quite there, but I think this is just like a wine, an exceptional wine that they price differently in order to give it some additional value. I'll rate this 93 points. It's a beautiful wine, but it doesn't have the complexity that I would be looking for in a higher rated wine. Thank you for suggesting this, Andrew. It was interesting to taste, and it kind of reminds me that I should try some more Chilean wines. Guys, what an interesting tasting. Thanks for all of your input. I liked all of the wines pretty much. I think my favorite was Le Cuse, but maybe for drinking in the future, not right now necessarily. The Ojai was quite beautiful right now. And this one, the Cote du Puy, was beautiful. But yeah, I liked the champagne. I liked the Georgian wine. I liked them all. They were all really good. So thanks for your suggestions. I hope you guys liked this video and enjoyed it. And if you did, then please like it down there. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. My question of the day is, would you like to do more of this interactive stuff? Do you want to do more interactive tastings where you suggest things and I taste them? Comment down below, let me know. I hope I see you guys again soon. Until then, stay thirsty.